A very good morning to everyone. I consider it a great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to this August gathering for this session on interface with officers from Apex bodies. In continuation to the wonderful inaugural session, we have interaction session with Apex bodies, so please remain in the meeting. Association of Indian Universities, as we all know, is one of the premier institutions of the country working for the cause of higher education since its inception. Some of the main objectives, as we have seen, of this association are to act as representative of universities of India, to act as a liaison between the universities and the government, to help universities to obtain
Professor Thiruvasagam, there seems to be a technical problem. So can you take over and start the session, please, as a chairperson of the session?
Yeah, that's fine, madam.
Okay. Please, sir.
Honorable Vice Chancellor and the President of Association of Indian Universities.
enable the heads of apex bodies to communicate their views and information.
Biology.
Purpose of this interface is also enable the heads of apex bodies to communicate their views and information of their bodies to vice chancellors. In this session, we are honored to have Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam, Vice President, AIU, and Vice Chancellor, Emmett University, Chennai, as chairperson for this session. Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam, a person of academic and administrative eminence, Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam brings with him his dynamic experience of 4 decades spanning across the globe. Apart from authoring 18 books, he has also authored 36 publications in national and international journals. In recognition of his academic contribution in the field of higher education, he was awarded with Colombo Plan Fellowship by the British Council, conferred with colonel status by the Tamil Nadu State NCC Battalion in 2008. He has received National Award for Social Service from the President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and the Service Above Self Award from the Rotary International. We have amongst us Professor Rajendra B. Kakre, Advisor AICT, as a speaker in this session. Professor Rajendra B. Kakre joined All India Council for Technical Education as an advisor from 1st September 2020. Previously, he was professor as Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Rashtra Sant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University, Nagpur. He obtained his bachelor, master's, and doctoral degree in pharmaceutical sciences from Rashtra Sant Tukadoji Maharaj Nagpur University in 1993, 95, and 2002, respectively. He also did bachelor's in English literature from Amravati University. He has total of 25 years of experience in teaching and industry. He is the member of IPA, APTI, ISCA, CAPC, SEA, and SFE. He has, to his credit, more than 125 research papers and presentation in national and international research journals and conferences. He is a reviewer of more than 10 national, international reputed journals. In this session, the another speaker that we have is Dr. Amiyar Kumar. Dr. Amiyar Kumar is a graduate of computer engineering with MTech and doctorate degree. He is presently working as advisor in National Assessment and Accreditation Council, NAC, Bangalore. He has extensive breadth of experience of 27 years in engineering teaching at the college and university level with a strong ability to deliver course material through a variety of teaching methods. He has contributed over 150 research papers to many national, international journals and conferences. An author of 8 books published by reputed publishers, he has earned many awards for contribution to academics and research. He has also visited over 50 higher education institutions across the country as the NAC peer team member. I welcome all the esteemed panelists and members for the discussion today. And may I now request Colonel Dr. G. Thiruvasagam ji to chair this session and address the gathering and bless us. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Savita, for your nice introduction. Honorable Vice Chancellor and President of Association of Indian Universities, Dr. Tej Pratap, most respected Chancellor of the Jaipur National University, Dr. Sandeep Bakshi, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Jaipur National University, Dr. H.N. Verma, beloved and respected Secretary General of AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, respected eminent experts of this session, Dr. Rajendra Hegde, Advisor AICTE, and Dr. Amiyar Kumar, Advisor NAC, Honorable Vice Chancellors and participants of this great event. Indeed, I am delighted that AIU has organized this West Regional Conference in collaboration with the Jaipur National University. In my capacity as Vice President of AIU, I should thank and congratulate the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor of the Jaipur National University for having organized this zonal conference very useful and purposeful, with a well-planned technical session by inviting academically renowned resource persons, besides inviting the state governor as well. Indeed, which added value to the AIU and the conference also. Dear participants, I consider it is my duty to appreciate the Secretary General of AIU, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, for having allotted an exclusive session as interface discussion with the officials of apex bodies, AICTE and NAC. Equally happy that AICTE and NAC debuted officials of academic excellence, positive-minded and ever-dynamic advisors, Dr. Rajendra Hegde and Dr. Amiyar Kumar. I am confident that participating Vice Chancellors will make use of this ample opportunity by placing their questions and doubts and get it clarified. Friends, my role in this session is very limited. All of you are waiting to listen the speakers, and you are going to put several questions also with them. Some of them may be long pending, and a few of them may be the latest thing what you are facing after the introduction of National Education Policy 2020. The time allotment for the session is, as a chairman, I may take 7 to 10 minutes, and I am requesting the speakers, each of them can take 15 minutes, and almost 20 or 25 minutes can be given to the participating Vice Chancellors to raise their queries and to get things clarified. My dear friends, as a chairperson, I would like to make a few remarks for a few minutes as well. We have been reading and listening various addresses on national education policy, starting from our most dynamic and vibrant Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, continued by chief officials of the apex bodies like Ministry of Education, UGC, AICTE, besides the architect of the National Education Policy 2020, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, since the policy was introduced. Hundreds of deliberations are also being taken place in all parts of our country, in the form of conferences, seminars, and debates on different aspects of the policy. As a matter of fact, I found and find more than 90% of the people speak about various salient features of the policy and invariably pay overwhelming encomium and advocate the policy totally. Yes, I do agree. Not only 90% and even 100%, the new education policy is a rare treasure to the Indian education system. I can very well comment and appreciate. India is going to have another revolution, that is education revolution, after a successfully enjoyed industrial revolution, green revolution, white revolution, technology revolution, etc. Because the policy is aimed at transforming India's education system into a modern, progressive, and equitable one. It focuses on improving poor literacy and numeracy outcomes, reducing dropout levels in the school, and introducing a multidisciplinary approach in the higher education system. There are exemplary features which we never thought during the previous periods of the national education policy. Here, time is the limiting factor. I would like to restrict my speech. Fellow participants, before inviting the speakers to address, I would like to place before them one or two common issues which are being faced by all the vice chancellors. As vice chancellors, we are very, very serious in implementing national education policy with a real spirit. And we have got several notification and communications also from our apex bodies like UGC, AICTE, and other statutory bodies as well. To initiate the process, we have taken the report to our bodies like Board of Studies, Academic Council, Senate, and syndicates. As a matter of fact, preaching is somewhat easier, reading is somewhat easier. At the same time, asking us to implement is also the duty of the apex bodies as well. But when we see in action, when we go for practicing, we anticipate several bottlenecks, several difficulties, rather to say challenges. We have to work along with the challenges and take our higher education institutions to a greater height, which is going to be governed by, graded by the institutions like AICTE and NAC. When we started our journey of implementation, I would like to know, hopefully, the AICTE and the NAC also I started working in implementing the National Education Policy 2020. At this juncture, I would like to make few appeals to the speakers. See, we have been given manual by both the AICTE and the NAC. AICTE is in the form of a handbook, which is being given every year with some changes. It's the same case with the NAC as well. Manual with 7 criterions and questions to score 1000 marks. Now, the National Education Policy brought out changes, many changes, like multidisciplinary approach, encouraging local languages, offering 4 years UG degree, ensuring autonomy to the higher education institutions. We vice chancellors also started implementing various recommendations of National Education Policy. At this juncture, what level of changes the AICTE and NAC are going to introduce and implement in the affiliation and approval procedures and grading of the higher education institutions? Because it is inevitable. The manuals, what we have today is before it was designed before the introduction of National Education Policy 2020. Hopefully, speakers of AICTE and NAC will focus towards my expectations and my question, what kind of changes they are going to make in their manuals. Firstly, I would like to get one clarification from AICTE. Sir, of course it is applicable to NAC also. For the last 1 year, there was no and there is no functioning of universities in full-fledged manner, not only India, globally as well, due to COVID-19. Of course, as per the notification received from apex bodies like UGC and AICTE, we are conducting classes virtually and we have conducted examinations and published the results also. Rest of the activities are in a totally haphazard way. No physical activity, no conferences. Teachers are not able to present the papers in the conference. Students are not able to involve in extension activities. Research opening lab is a problem. Conducting even practical examination is a problem. Whatever results we have given, it's not full-fledged. We have given results only on the basis of the theory, and we have not given the entire result and the mark certificate as well. We have postponed all the practical examinations. Only after normalizing situation, we will be completing the examination process and giving the diploma degree to the student, which will facilitate them to go further career development. Under this situation, there is a big issue before us. Our admission process started in the middle of the academic year. We were not able to undertake promotional activities in a bigger way. And the students and parents are also very hesitant to apply for colleges, universities which are far away. They don't want to travel. And even if they are admitted, they don't want to stay in a hostel. To be very honest, the state like Tamil Nadu are very serious to announce this period as the zero academic period or zero academic year. When it's a situation, the admission is very drastically reduced. Some of the programs, it is only single-digit admission, both undergraduate and postgraduate. As far as AICTE is concerned, it has given a condition that unless an institution has 60% of the courses NBA accredited, next year the institution will not be allowed to run the courses. See, when we have the strength of single digits, how we can make the eligibility to apply for NBA? The NBA eligibility application is 60% strength of on the total sanction strength. So in the particular year, most of the institutions are not able to reach the 60% of the admission on the sanction strength. When it's the case, how the AICTE is going to decide about the eligibility and decide about the grading or giving NBA accreditation? This is the major question before the AICTE advisor. Same thing will applicable to NAC grading also. See, whatever we have today, all of 4 years old. Suppose a university is in the fact end of this period of processing, completing, and submitting the SSR. There are universities, and those universities have been given time of 6 months from the date of completion of the academic year. So these 6 months falls on COVID-19 period. How these statistics and programs, activities of 6 months are going to be taken into consideration? No industry is there for giving internship. No philanthropist is interested to give donation, and no people are prepared to come forward to extend a lot of research support. When it's the case, how the NAC is going to take a decision on during the COVID period. Moreover, COVID not comes to an end. The scientists and experts say it will go for another 1 year or couple of years. If it's the case, how the parameters are going to be decided, how the criterions are going to be decided, or you going to tell us to follow the same format what you have prescribed before the COVID-19. So these are all the major issues which is going to affect the affiliation process, approval process, even grading the institutions in a bigger way. With these few observations, I would like to conclude my remark, and I would like to invite the speakers to address. After the addresses of the speakers, I will invite Vice Chancellors and other participants to put questions with the experts. I invite Dr. Rajendra Hegde, the advisor AICTE, please address.
Thank you, sir. I am hearable. Can you hear me?
Very well, sir. Please, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, good afternoon to everyone. And again, I got the opportunity to meet virtually here. This is my second time in this program to come and speak with the Honorable all Vice Chancellors. So, first of all, the chief guest of today's program, Honorable Kalraj Mishra sir, Honorable Governor of Rajasthan, Honorable H.N. Verma, Vice Chancellor of Rajasthan University, Jaipur University, Dr. Pankaj Mittal Madam, Secretary AIU, Dr. Sandeep Bakshi sir, Dr. Tej Pratap ji, President AIU. First of all, I answer to the query made by our Vice President sir, that we are in the process of APH 2021-22, and our approach is in favor of the national education policy. We are in the mode of multidisciplinary approach, merging of institutes, integrated campus, and we are positive on the implementation of this national education policy, and we are trying our level best to be in the parallel with the national education policy. We are supporting them. Then about this national NBA accreditation, we are also in process. Sometimes we have to relax, sometimes we have to make the light and tide mode. We are also trying for the light and tide mode also. In the case of this COVID-19, that times last year, we are giving the approval to the all institutions on the basis of their affidavit. They are going to compliance these deficiencies. So we are not sent our EVC expert visit committee to colleges, and we are continuously given the supports to all the universities and institutes by giving the approval on the basis of their affidavit. So first of all, I just say something about our AICTE. The AICTE having about 10,000, we govern the technical educations, and we have about 10,000 institutions and about 32 lakh students under our purview for the technical education. The aim of higher education in India is to provide access, equity, quality with accountability at affordable cost to all aspiring citizens with utmost transparency to ensure sustainable economic development of the nation. It is achieved through creation, dissemination, and application of knowledge. The All India Technical Council for Technical Education has been in existence since November 1945 as a national level apex advisory body and as a statutory body through an act of parliament in 1987 with its vision of developing and promoting quality technical education in the country in a coordinated and integrated manner. The Council's constant endeavor is to encourage a meaningful association between a technical education system and research and development activities in a concrete efforts aimed at nation building. Technical education at all levels is witnessing a severe competition, and only those institutions who strive for excellence will survive. The Council believes in providing all kinds of support and encourage institutions to think beyond the curriculum while imparting training for the advancement of knowledge. The Council has put in place several initiatives to bring about changes in the approval process by introducing greater transparency and accountability. Through the e-governance, AICT has been constantly endeavoring to simplify the procedures and bringing greater ease in the approval process through informal and formal interaction with all stakeholders. The role of AICT as a true facilitator of quality technical education is evident from the changes made in the approval process handbook, along with the revised gazette policy. This is expected to create an academic ambience in the technical education institutions for nurturing and supporting quality so that technical education in India will be one of the best in the world. Supporting institutions for autonomy, accreditation of programs, ranking of institutions, schemes such as Margadarshan, adjunct faculty, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, research promotion schemes, AICT Doctoral Fellowship, short-term training program, National Institute for Technical Teachers Training, AICT IDEA Lab, a MOOCs platform for SWAYAM, Smart India Hackathon, Smart Up Policy 2016 are a few of the important initiatives embarked upon by AICT curricula. Teacher training program for both new teachers and in service teacher students induction programs, mandatory internship for students, examination reform, support for innovation and entrepreneurship, industry interaction cell, starting the work on the national perspective plan of technical education have been initiated. AICT has signed several MOUs with both government departments and private organizations, NGOs, startups for supporting students and institutions in getting internship support opportunities, the introduction of National Academic Depository for storing all students' educational certificates, all fee collections and scholarship disbursal through cashless digital means are major changes initiated by the Government of India and implemented by the AICT. Again, in coordination in parallel with this new education policy, a new education policy aims to facilitate an inclusive, participatory, and holistic approach which takes into consideration field experiences, empirical research, stakeholder feedback, as well as lesson learned from best practices. It is a progressive shift toward a more scientific approach to education. The prescribed structure will help to cater the ability of the child, stages of cognitive development, as well as social and physical awareness. If implemented in its true vision, the new structure can bring India at par with the leading countries of the world. Now, I just give some idea to share schemes of the AICT. I just want to share. Just give me the. I request to share. You got this slide? Hello?
Yes, sir, the slides is visible.
Yeah, it is visible. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Then the schemes of the AICT, we have the various schemes in the AICT. I just make some awareness about the all vice chancellors and all the teachers who are connected virtually here. The schemes of AICT, the students development scheme. These includes our AICT Lilavati Award. This AICT intends to seek application for AICT Lilavati Award based on the theme Women Empowerment from the eligible team of AICT approved institutions who have undertaken remarkable intervention for the cause and made an impact that showcase their work under 6 different themes. PG scholarship, we also give the PG scholarship for the full-time GATE and GPAT qualified students admitted in ME, MTech, MArch, then M Pharma courses in AICT approved institutions. We have AICT Doctoral Fellowship. This is for the admitting full-time meritorious research scholar by providing research fellowship who want to seek admission in PhD in AICT approved in technical institutes. Then we have the Pragati Scholarship. This scholarship is awarded to the meritorious girls taking admission in AICT approved technical institutions. We have Saksham Scholarship. Scholarship contingency is awarded to differently able students taking admission into the AICT approved technical institutions. Then we have the Prerna scheme for the preparing SCSC students. The problem can be addressed by promoting degree students of pre-final and final year to go for postgraduate courses. We have the Samriddhi scheme for SC/ST students for setting startup programs. Looking at the poor job availability in the market, it is necessary to provide opportunities for SC/ST students to start their own enterprise. We have started this scheme especially for SC/ST students. We have the scheme to support the students for participating in competition abroad SSPCA scheme. The objective of this scheme is to provide travel assistance, registration fee to a team of minimum 2 to 10 students for attending competition at international level. We have Prime Minister Special Scholarship Scheme. It is very famous, PMSSS. Objective of this scheme is to build up capacities in youth of Jammu Kashmir, educate, enable and empowering them to compete in normal course, enhancing and boosting employment potential in the students of Jammu and Kashmir. We have INAE travel grant schemes and AICT INA travel grant scheme for engineering students to present paper abroad has been launched for enhancing the quality of engineering education in the country. We have Smart India Hackathon, a unique initiative to identify new and disruptive digital solutions for solving the challenges faced by our country under the program of the Smart India Hackathon. This event continuously we are continuing these programs. Now this year we have started the toy hackathon to for the toy makers. We have the big market in the India for making the toys, and now we start this toy hackathon. So it is a very good initiative by the government of India. This program started under the of our Prime Minister. Then MTech project as internship with small and medium enterprises. These are the some of the schemes which is for the student. Then we have the faculty development schemes are there, which includes general guidelines for all the schemes and the National Initiative for Technical Teachers Initiative. AICT NITTT. This is the scheme to train the inducted teachers in AICT approved institutions through this National Initiative for the Technical Teachers Training in NITTT. For inducted teachers has been launched. It imparts training to the inducted teachers in the first phase of the training program for the inducted teacher shall be conducted. Another one is the Vishwesvaraya Best Teacher Award. This award we have started this year for the best teacher. This scheme is aimed to recognize the meritorious faculties on Teachers' Day of the 5th September every year at national level and encourage them to update themselves to the ever-changing need of higher education at global level and thereby becoming an effective contributor towards the society. We have quality improvement programs. This is the Golden Jubilee years. From last 50 years, we are catering to the education. And the main objective of this program is to upgrade the qualification of the faculty members of the degree level institutions in the country. Then we have the Research Promotion Scheme, RPS. This scheme promotes research in identified thrust area of the technical education. RPS is aimed to create research ambience in the institutes by promoting research in engineering, science and innovation is in established and newer technologies. We have quality improvement programs. schemes provide scholarship to the faculty who fulfill eligibility criteria and obtained admission in the doctoral degree programs leading to award of the PhD in any of the enlisted top 500 universities. We have faculty development programs. The scheme is intended to institutions for induction training to teachers employee in the AICTE approved institutions. Then we have short-term STTP programs, short-term training programs. We have training programs for physical education trainers, technical university joint training programs for teachers. We have technical university joint program for the librarians. We have professional development schemes. We have the distinguished visiting professorship. We have the teachers research fellowship scheme for faculty. So we have so many schemes are there. And as mother tongue, अभी जो चल रहा है कि mother tongue में भी हम बच्चों को पढ़ाना चाहिए, तो the image AICTE start the taken the initiative to convert the English version of the textbook into the all languages, which we have the now we develop the software which convert all this English language into the all languages. So it will be easy for the student to grasp, and it's also easy for the teachers. And we also have the one scheme to convert this English material, technical education material into the Hindi. Every year we are giving the awards to the translators. So these are the initiative, these are the schemes of the faculty development. We have also the schemes under these institution development. And this institution, we have the Idea Lab. This year we come with the Idea Lab. AICTE has decided to establish Idea Lab, where idea development, evaluation, application is there. Approved in the approved institutions, encouraging students for application of science, technologies, engineering, and mathematics, fundamental towards the enhanced hands-on experience learning by doing and project visualization. We have the schemes for promoting interest, creativity, and ethics among the students. Spices. This year we have started this new scheme, Spices, to energize the position. Students love chapter societies as facilitating entity for pursuit of individual interest, create work, showcasing talent, networking, and teamwork. We have the grant for organizing the conferences. We have the grant for the Modrov, which is also a famous one, Modrov, modernization and removal of the obsolescence. Then Shodh Sindhu, subscription for the e-journals. Then we have the scheme for campus accommodation and facility enhancing social experiences. Then special scheme for the northeastern states. Then Margadarshan initiative as well as the Margadarshak. So the senior academician or serving or superintendent shall be nominated as Margadarshak to act as individual mentor for guiding beneficiary institutes to achieve the NBA accreditation and enhance the quality of technical education. So these are the institutional. In case of the research and innovation, we have the schemes Entrepreneurship Development Cell, EDC. These schemes motivates the students to opt for entrepreneurship and self-employment as attractive and viable career options. The limit for this funding is about 10 lakhs. Another initiative is Collaborative Research Scheme, CRS, under this TechWeek, to provide research grant for young TechWeek faculties recruited in different TechWeek institutes so as to collaborate for research and build research community among TechWeeks. These are the schemes which comes under the AICTE purview. I hope that all the vice chancellor aware their faculties to get the benefit of these students, faculty, as well as the institutional development schemes, research scheme to their students, bring this into their universities. Some initiatives which started by the AICTE is the Smart India Smart Hackathon. As I told you that the hackathon now we introduced this type. Then Swayam, this is the online anywhere, any time, anywhere we are going for the Swayam. Then we have the AICTE CIA Innovation Initiative. This is with the collaboration with the industry, academics and industry collaborations. Then we also award the clean and smart campuses in India. Startup contest. We also organize the startup contest for the students. and they actively participate in this contest. We have the Vishwakarma Award for the teachers. It gives for the best teachers in the academic and the research. Jal Shakti Abhiyan to increase the Jal Shakti for the better future. One student, one tree program. So every students are planting the one tree every year and taking care of that. We have the Kapila program for patent. This year we have started this Kapila programs. So innovation, we have to protect our intellectual property. Through these Kapila programs, we promote patenting and we are funding the patenting. These are some of the initiatives taken by the ICT. When we are going through the approval
Professor Atte,
yes,
Professor Atte, I will appreciate if you spare some time for interaction with our Vice Chancellors.
Yes, sir. Just last 2 or 3 minutes. Last slide.
Yes, okay, please.
So, okay. We are in the process to bring the new approval process handbook 21-22, and we initiate as per the our Vice President Thirusan sir told. We incorporate the most of the things in the parallel with the new education policy. If you want any details, you can go through the approval process handbook, so that you will get all the information. And once again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak in this at this platform. And again, I just want to last thing, nothing, not least, but Swami Vivekananda said education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. In keeping with this objective, apart from regulatory role, AICT shall continue to strive to be a true mentor, facilitator and enabler in bringing out the best in each institution. We hope all the stakeholders of the technical education shall also put in their best and make Team India proud. Also, I will say that in these years, we carry out about 600 EVC expert visiting committee. It is online. We don't have to go anywhere. We sit here and we operate all these. The EVC members are most of the vice chancellors, judges, and the academician, architects. So we develop the software and we carry out all these EVC through the online mode. So thank you very much for hearing me and giving me the chance. Once again, thanks to the AIU for giving the opportunity to speak here on behalf of the AICT. I thanks each and everyone from the AICT. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajendra Hegde. We have briefed about schemes of AICTE and which are all very focusing towards the skill development and the quality oriented as well. Now, I request Dr. Amiya Kumar to give his address. After the address is over, the Vice Chancellors will be permitted to put questions to both the advisors as well. I invite Dr. Amiya Kumar of Advisor NAC, please address.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Host, can you give me the option for sharing my slide? Before you could give me option for sharing my slide, let me answer a couple of questions which has been raised by the chairperson of this group. As far as this national education policy is concerned, so what is the kind of manuals you look into it as far as NAC is concerned? My answer to this question is, we have a committee to review the manuals based on the national education policy. Currently, we have a manual for affiliated UG, PG, autonomous colleges, universities, health science colleges for 10 different schemes, health science universities, open universities, Sanskrit universities, dual mode universities, teacher, physical education, special education colleges. But we have a committee to analyze the kind of, the exercise based on in line with national education policy. Host, I request you to allow me to share my slide. But now it's very early to speak about the kind of manual we'll come up with, which will be in line with national education policy. The next one is, the last 1 year, the question raised by the chairperson is last 1 year, what is the activity of NAC? You know, let me tell you, during this lockdown, we have conducted different awareness programs throughout country. More than 150 webinars we have conducted, hosted by NAC. Our officers participated more than 500 webinars throughout the country, region-wise, Western region, Northern region, and Northeast and other regions. We have conducted different webinars. We have received a lot of HEIs. They have applied to NAC. Except peer team visits, we are totally busy in. We have received IIQA, DVB work we have completed. The student satisfaction survey, ImpleveNet, and all those activities we have completed in this, shutdown and lockdown. We have conducted programs or best practices, inviting A++ higher education institutions. Then we have participated and we have organized international webinars to understand the manuals, the kind of assessment and accreditation carried out in those countries. Then we have conducted the assessors orientation program virtually. Like you will have a feeling of face-to-face, that kind of program we have conducted. Then ministers program we have conducted, higher education ministers program we have conducted, some governors program we have conducted, state-wise analysis report of different states. We published books of state-wise analysis report to understand the shortcomings, to understand the problem faced by the institutions, the government institutions, the rural colleges, the universities or colleges located in rural places. We have analyzed, we have interacted with government departments, how to strengthen the infrastructure and other processes in different states. Apart from that, we have recorded a program in SWAYAM. I personally recorded a program in SWAYAM that will be launched from the first week of March. Then the next question, Professor Chairperson asked is, what is the kind of March onwards, 24th March till May, 24th March, April, May, virtually the institutions lost the period of April and May because of COVID. So what we have done is, for us, the academic year for 1920, instead of May 31st, we have extended up to 31st of December. That means from May to December, whatever the work, in our metric, we ask some questions where there are some questions like online program or face-to-face. Face-to-face program, if it is not possible because of this COVID pandemic, we have considered online programs also. That is still there in our manual. Before this COVID, when we have developed the manual, in the manual itself we have mentioned that it's face-to-face or online. Then what we have done is, we had pending visits of more than 350 pending visits during this COVID period. We have started visits from December last week onwards. Almost by February, we'll be completing around close to 200 visits. We'll be completing by February. By March or mid of April, we are planning to complete all the visits pending with us. And we have given the extension also. Extension of validity we have given during this. Suppose an institution's validity or a cycle of accreditation is fall in between after March. So in that case, what we have done is, we have given extension of validity. That means when the normalcy will start in the colleges, state government declares normalcy, schools, colleges, it will start, then they need to submit IIQA. Until the process is completed, till the result is declared, till that time we have given extension to different institutions. I think still host has not given me the option of sharing my slide. Okay, there is no problem. See, let me tell you the kind of work, the ICT enabled work we have done it. We have completely, our system is automated. The ICT solution is automated. existing ICT enabled solution is scalable and can handle any number of users, any number of HEIs applying to us. We can handle our automation will handle that. Even the assessors, when the assessors go for visits, they accept the visits on the portal. They submit the peer team report on the portal. They submit the score on the portal. We have all of you might be knowing that 70% is almost quantitative and 30% is qualitative. Of course.
So, sir, aside from that, we have the right to present. So, if you want to share your slides, you can.
Now you okay. Yeah. I'll explain about only 2-3 slides because there's scarcity of time, only 15 minutes. I'll just skip many slides. Only 2-3 slides. I will see. The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our life in harmony with all the existence, said by Rabindranath Tagore. Quality is never an accident. It's always the result of intelligent effort. And one more which I like this, education is not a preparation for life, but education is life itself. Let me see. What is important is in our revised accreditation framework, which I was mentioning, 70% is only quantitative. In quantity, what we have done is, in some of the questions we ask the data of last 5 years. Somewhere we ask percentage, somewhere we ask average percentage, somewhere we ask ratio, faculty-student ratio, mentor-mentee ratio. These are the kind of questions we asked in our manual. In the manual, we have a templates also, because all the data has to be entered in the template. Apart from that, the supporting documents. When DVV will look into it, DVV will look for the supporting documents and the templates and validate it. So what is important is, in this national education policy also, outcome-based education is important. Critical and creative thinking skills among the students should be developed. Student-centric learning is important. Development of creative potential of each individual is important. Experiential learning is important. Problem-solving methodologies, project-based learning, and improving the knowledge, skills, competencies, and behavior and attitude of students are important. So in this, so we have diversified institutions in India. We have constituent colleges, we have affiliated colleges, we have government colleges, we have private colleges added, and we have added colleges, we have self-financing colleges, and we have autonomous colleges. This is, as I was mentioning, SSR preparation to pre-qualification is completely, we have end-to-end solutions. Peer team selections, our selection of peer team members also automated. Let me tell you how this automation takes place. When the assessors, they submit the documents on the portal. So based on the fields and subject specialization, see, the institutions has selected that these are the programs I have. These are the number of students. Suppose an institutions or universities have 100 programs, depends upon the number of students. The coordinators will select few programs, maybe 20 programs or so. Then computer randomly will pick 20 names or 10 names. Now we have made it 6 names. Recently we have made it 6 names based on subject specialization and field specialization in different categories. What are those different categories? In the chairperson category, member coordinators category, and member category. Out of that, one of the designated officer will choose 1-1-1. Of course, now we have changed the rule. A committee will look into it. 3 members committee will select 1-1-1. If there is a dropout, the problems which I am facing here in NAC in this COVID pandemic is there are a lot of dropouts. Of course, many of the chairpersons also, or many of the members also, they wish to go for visits. We are taking all the precautions, COVID guidelines given by Government of India and the respective state government, and we have started visits. And every day we have a lot of visits, and we are planning to complete the visits. all the pending widgets by March or mid of April. This assessment outcome documents, the analysis also we have carried out, metric wise analysis, quantitative metrics wise, qualitative metrics wise, between the institutions also this analysis, the data analytics, we have done it very extensively as far as our data is concerned. After appeal, there are few cases like the appeal committee will decide whether there will be a revisit or there will be a re-DVV or re-DVV and revisits or the no change. When the minutes of the committee is approved, automatically it will take place. Like a revisit means it will go to the coordinators for fixing the panel for revisits. Similarly, it will go to the DVV partners, another DVV partners to re-DVV the entire exercise. Similarly, the year-on-year AQAR submission, that also we have made it online. Annual quality assurance report also we have made it online. So we have support progress integrations. We get a lot of issues. Whenever we get an issue, we used to reply as early as possible. We take 1 day time, 24 hours. We try to reply the issue raised by the higher education institutions. We have given a standard operating procedures. The standard operating procedures will be useful for the institutions to how to fill the documents, in the self-study report. Because most of the institutions, they feel that the metrics, lot of questions we ask. But I will tell you, if you look at our 7 different criteria, starting from curricular aspects, teaching, learning, evaluations, research, innovations and extension, infrastructure, learning resources, student support progression, governance, leadership, management, institutional values and best practices. If in each metric, in each criteria, we have some quantitative metrics and qualitative metrics. Based on that, we evaluate. I will complete this and stop because already 13 minutes I have taken. See, first of all, the institution is to submit the IIQA. For the people, those who are not familiar with this process of NAC, then once the IIQ is approved, then SSR they need to submit. SSR is quantitative plus qualitative metrics. Then the DVV process will start. The DVV process will complete within 30 days. Parallelly, the student satisfaction survey. NAC directly takes feedback from the students as far as student satisfaction survey is concerned. 25% is pre-qualification. After the SSR gets updated, 25% or more if the institution will get, then only there will be a peer team visits. If it is less than 25%, there will not be peer team visits. Again, they will apply afresh the IIQA. Then after that, qualitative metrics, quantitative metrics combined together, you get the score which will be declared in the standing committee. These are the timelines: 15 days for IIQA, maximum SSR 45 days they need to submit, then DVV student satisfaction survey, then peer team visits, then announcement of results. Sir, I have completed 15 minutes. If anything is there, I would love to answer.
Yeah, very nice presentation you made, sir. Some of the information are very useful to us and new to us as well. Really, we are thankful to you. Now, we really, in fact, even senior vice chancellors like us, we don't have much idea about it. You brought to our knowledge. Thank you very much indeed. Now, may I request the vice chancellors, please introduce yourself and put the questions to the advisors, please. The technical team, please allow the vice chancellors to speak. It is possible with the video, well and good. Otherwise, at least audio facility should be given to the vice chancellor.
So there is a question in the chat box by Dr. M. Anand. So may I, if you permit, may I read the question?
Please do it.
Thank you, sir. The question is, as per the NEP 2020, the HECI shall be the apex body in higher education. It is our understanding that NHERC would be the regulatory body which combines UGC AICTE regulatory role. How are the current practices going to change when NHERC comes into being? Is there a draft available for vice chancellors to look at? Please enlighten. Many thanks.
Question is to whom? Is it to the AICT director or to the advisor of NAC?
Sir, the question is to all panelists.
The question would be to AICT. Dr. Kakade. He also added to this, Dr. Kakade. One question I keep on wondering what will happen when HECI is completed with the amalgamation of NCT, AICT. What happens to the engineering education? I mean, you are also right now working as a regulator for the professional bodies. So the PSSBs are there for sort of regulating the professional subjects. So AICTE will be merged with HECI. So where will the PSSB role of AICTE, where will it go? So will it be two parts? One will be PSSB and one will be merged with the HECI. I don't know. There's a little bit of confusion that if HECI includes AICTE, then the regulatory role of a professional subject, that is engineering, technology and management, who performs that role, HECI, or you will be another PSSB?
Thank you, madam. I feel not sure about which part comes to us, but I feel that the approval process will comes to the AICT. I think so, as per the discussion in this. And
AICT will continue to exist.
Yeah, when it will be dissolved, maybe my opinion, and as per our discussion is going on that. So maybe when it merged VGC and ASP, so maybe the approval process, we have the strong approval process in our AICT, and we have now 10,000. We operate very easily from this place. So we hope that we'll get the this approval process for about 40 or to 50,000 institutions in India. So it is very easy for us because we have the system. We have all things we have. So I feel and as per our higher ups, we are on the concentrate on that, and our approval process handbook we are also make on parallel to this national education policy. For this I think this is last year for the AICT to make the approval process handbook. Next year maybe it comes in the HECI. Maybe we'll prepare for the HECI for the whole India, whole institutions. So I feel so. This is my.
But this HECI, AICT is not, it's HECI, it's really HECI, which includes AICT, NCT, and UGC. Through the approval process. Will it continue as one part of AICT will work as a UGC? That is a little bit, I thought you can say.
It's come in the light after completion or when it will be implemented. That times we will say that. Yeah. Right.
Professor Rath wants to say something.
Next question, madam. Dr. Savita, can you put the next question?
Sir, there are no more questions in the chat box.
Any chancellors who are interested to put question directly now? It seems all of them are very much happy and satisfied on the addresses given by our experts.
Yes, sir, I want to say one thing again. In this pandemic, how we convert this pandemic into the opportunity. Yeah, so we carry out about 800 FDP and STDPs of the teachers' trainings. We have the record of this ATAL, AICT training and learning programs. It is more than 700 programs organized by the AICT, and it is more than 1 lakh teachers benefited through this program. We have the online EVC as Amaya sir tell that they stopped their EVC later. But we never stop. We started it online. We have all the systems of online. And about today, at present, we have completed about 700 EVC online. And most of the vice chancellor are their member and chairman of that committee, so they know that. So we organize and we made a software such that this EVC carried out at the from our place. So about 600, and we are disbursing the scholarship to each and every student in this pandemic. We are never late. We given the, even if it is at first date of first month, first day of the month, but we are given at the 30th of this every month. So we feel proud that our students get benefited in this pandemic also. So this is the NSP's initiative towards the stakeholders. So
Can I ask?
I am happy.
Can I ask a question?
NICT is extending lot of, NICT is extending lot of support and concessions to the institutions.
right,
I
sir.
would like to respond. Sir, I would like to respond.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, ours is not a regulator body. We look for quality educations. In the international practice, when the manual of revised accreditation framework has been developed, it has been the manual clearly said that at least we should go for a visit, physical visit. Even the online modalities of online visits. I mean, I devised the online visits modalities and discussed with our EC also. But EC has refused because in the international practice, there should be some visits to the institutions as far as quality assurance and accreditation is concerned. I mean, a regulator is something different and from assessment and accreditation. So we stopped the accreditation for some periods. Then from December we have started conducting the visits, but since it is kind of qualitative metrics, it's a kind of peer team visits. So we are conducting the visits currently. This is just that small clarifications from my AICT friends, Dr. Hegde.
Yeah. I also agree with Amya sir. I have also visited your LAC peer team. We are the input. You work on the outcomes.
Exactly.
We are concerned with the quality. We are on the input or regulator. So this is because we have worked together.
Professor Vijay Veer Singh wants to ask
Yes.
a question.
Yeah, I am Professor Vijay Veer Singh, Vice President in Vivekananda Global University, Jaipur. My question is with Professor Rath. Actually, NEC is doing very good job, but the basic issue when we are visiting university is that universities and institutions are not well aware with the quantitative criteria. They are uploading data, then they are saying that our data has not been counted in the quantitative metrics. I give one example that only publication under Scopus publication will be counted. So this should be known to the institutions. I think on these grounds, NEC needs to do more work, more discussions with HEIs, which data will be counted, which will not be counted. Thank you.
Sir, I mean, we have made a standard operating procedures. In the standard operating procedures, we have given metric wise. This is the metric which data will be considered and which will not to be considered. And during the DBB clarifications, DBB is third party. During DBB clarifications, the DBB will ask to the HEI certain clarifications. Suppose they mentioned that 1,000 students have gone for internships. There are certain documents DBB will ask based on the data submitted by the HEI, because 15 days time period will be given to the HEI to respond to the DBB. Suppose I'll give a simple examples. We asked the teachers award. In our initial periods of revised accreditation framework, we found that the institutions have 200 faculties. Every faculties will have two awards given by the same institutions, and they upload. That means in 5 years period of time, you will find there are 1,000 awards. And in the SOP, we have clearly mentioned what is the definition of an award and which award to be considered by DBB and which award should not be considered by DBB. That also we have mentioned. Clearly we have mentioned as far as publication is concerned, the citations are validated by our partners InfluNet. As far as medical is concerned, InfluNet is validating and verifying the publications as well as citations. But as far as our publications is concerned, we have mentioned the UGC CARE journal. The UGC is removing a journal then we are also removing. That's what the decision has been taken, because we expect that UGC CARE journals is the standard journals. Faculty members should publish all Scopus, Web of Science, Science Citation Index, ESCI, and the publications. That we are considering, the partner is considering all the documents. If the links will not be provided, we have given in the templates that what is the link of UGC CARE, because time and again UGC is revising the journals. They are removing some journals. They are including some good journals. Based on their revisions, whatever the institute is submitting, the UGC CARE journals, Scopus, SCI, and all that, it will be considered by the partners.
Thank you, Raj. Just one query. Can I add to that?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just my one query, this is what I am suggesting, that there is very much misconception that people are selling Scopus like anything, that take membership, otherwise your data will not be counted. This is what I am saying. This myth is to be conveyed to the institutions that we do not need only Scopus. UGC CARE is the best list. This is why I am suggesting. This is general misconception that Scopus you have to buy. Thank you.
Sir, SOP, sir, SOP, clearly we have mentioned, sir, in the SOP, and we mentioned that Google Drive, OneDrive, people should not upload the data in Google Drive, OneDrive. Let me tell you why we are not allowing them to do that, because it should be a public document. When the institute is submitting the self-study report, it should be a public document. Anybody can view it. If it is a OneDrive, it will be only between the NAC and the institute. It will not be access to the other outsiders. We don't want that.
What he is saying is that you are insisting on Scopus, and Scopus is taking money to, for subscribing their journals. So only insisting on Scopus may not be good. That is what he is saying.
Sir, UGC CARE, madam, UGC CARE is there. UGC CARE.
UGC CARE is there.
UGC CARE is there.
But UGC CARE also depends upon Scopus to a large extent. Sir, Vice President, sir, can I ask a question from Professor Rath? Professor Rath?
Yes, yes.
One question I want to know is, like, right now accreditation is emerging as a new normal, in the sense that everything is connected with the accreditation. Like, if you have this much of score, then you can run online programs. If you have this much of score, then you can become autonomous college or college with potential for excellence, or even for UP or IOE. Everywhere accreditation is becoming a new normal, and in future the score will be taken up more. More depending upon the accreditation score. But at the same time, the NEP talks about the binary accreditation, that is accredited or not accredited. So isn't it a contradictory thing? If it becomes binary, how will we use accreditation score as a new normal for regulating the institutions?
In my opinion, I will give my personal opinion, then madam, institutional opinion. My opinion is, it is too early for binary accreditation, because we have different diversity. See, one college is very good. If you don't give CGPA, at least if you are binary accreditation, give them some score. This is the score of your institutions. If you don't give score, only your institution is accredited. Some college is very, very college where they are expected to get C grade or maybe a slight B grade. So there will be a lot of, it's too early now. Maybe you can think of binary accreditation after 10 years. Of course, this is my personal opinion. It's not
policy talks about binary.
Yeah, policy talks about binary, but at the same time, this policy will take around a lot of time to implement, because what you mentioned is implementation is very important. Very good things are there in the policy. In your presentation also you mentioned there are a lot of good points. India will become a Vishwa Guru only when NEP is implemented in letter and spirit. That's important. But this will take some time for implementation of NEP. And again, same, because the government also should spend a lot of money giving to the government colleges for improvement. Why these rural colleges, government colleges are not scoring better grade is because the appointment of faculty members, infrastructures, all those things are very important. It will take some time. We will lead to binary accreditation, but at least for the time being, this should continue. In my opinion, as an academician, I should feel that this CGPA system should continue for some periods. Then slowly, when there are lot of autonomous colleges granting upgrades or granting of certificates, I mean, slowly we can move towards accreditation like binary accreditation. Yes or no?
Professor, I would like to get the two questions to Dr. Amiya Kumar. Please, sir. One is regarding there are multidisciplinary universities and there are unitary university as well. When they come for accreditation, the multidisciplinary universities, out of their background and strength and numerical wise, they can very well satisfy QNM and the QLM also. When it's a question of unitary university, even if it's a young university, they were not able to come out with the expected CGPA or mark like that. Do you have any difference in evaluating this kind of different level of universities?
Sir, we have manuals. As I was mentioning, we have manuals. Any universities, when they apply, we have some generic questions actually in the quantitative metrics, which I was mentioning in my presentations. So how many number of PhDs awarded per teacher? You talk about publications per teacher. You talk about fundings received from government agencies and non-government agencies. What is the extension activities? Like, we ask certain questions. Based on the questions, we have university manual. For health science, of course, we have a separate manual for health science, but depends on if it is multidisciplinary, they are running engineering programs as well as they are having medical programs. We have a percentage. How many percentage are medical and how many percentage of engineering? Based on that, whether they will choose medical manual or they will choose engineering university manual, general university manual. My point here is, we try to put all those, we try to understand the different types of institutions in India. Based on that, we ask some generic questions, which will be definitely, if you align with the multidisciplinary universities, align with our questions, I'm 100% sure they will be a fit into that. We have some problems with legal. They wanted to have a separate manual for legal, but we added some questions, and SOP also we have mentioned in the SOP what is to be submitted. And the thing is, it is not proper to have so many manuals. It is always better to have single manuals, but possibly a little bit of different questions. So accordingly, we have of course Sanskrit, we have a separate manuals. Dual mode, we have a separate manual. Of course, ODL, we have a separate manuals. That like that way only we have derived.
Professor, as you said, you are evaluating the university on the basis of number of faculty with the PhD, number of PhDs produced by the faculty as well. It's good for most of the universities. There is one university which was promoted by Honorable Prime Minister of India in Gujarat, Forensic Science University. When we go for a new discipline, innovative discipline like that, we cannot get a faculty with a PhD to teach. There is one more university in Tamil Nadu, Music and Dance University. Okay, there all faculty are musicians. They don't have even undergraduate degree or postgraduate degree. When it's the case, unless you give me an exclusive manual, how they can come and compete and get the accreditation? And they can go for PhD. Those places and all, they will be scoring 0 mark. It's same case with the Maritime University also.
So in that case, see, what I found is, see, in certain metric they may get 0, but in certain metric they will score. See, why the universities, I found with my experience here, I found that all the universities, they are trying to get 4 out of 4, 4.00 CGPA. My point is, if there are certain metrics you are losing, in other metrics they will improve. But as far as academics is concerned, we expect that faculty with PhD qualifications, even associate professors, the recruitment takes place without PhDs. There is no recruitment of associate professors or professors. In that case, definitely we expect that their faculty should have a PhD qualifications. They should guide the students. Then only the next generation also will grow, because research is related to peer. Like you get a funding, Some students will work in that project. Then only the contribution. Then only it will be a contribution to the country and to the discipline where they are guiding the students. So it's all a linkage with that. Due to that only we ask how many PhDs. That means they should work in a project. They should get funding. If it is a private, they should get funding from the management of the institute. They should guide the students. Team-based project they should guide. And ultimately a student will get a PhD. Getting a PhD is not important, but what is the contribution to the society is important. Contribution to the society, it will lead to a PhD degree. If you don't put such kind of questions, it will be very difficult that there will be some contribution to the society.
Basically, Professor, your background is computer science. When the computer science was introduced in India, there was no sufficient number of faculty with a PhD to teach. That time, we engaged professor of mathematics, professor of physics to come and teach mathematics. Likewise, when we go for introducing new concept, new programs, getting PhD is a problem. So in future, at least here, you have to give an opportunity for those institutions to bring those questions under opt-out category. Then only they can score some marks.
See, sir, what we have done is, due to that only we mentioned that at least 2 batches of students should pass out or 6 years of existence. Then only an institution is eligible for applying to NAC. Second point is regarding opt-out metrics. Initially, when we have 2017, when we have launched the manual, there in the university manual, autonomous affiliated, we had opt-out metric. But certain metrics we have removed from the universities. We felt that the kind of metrics we have currently in the universities manual, that will cater to the need of all different types of institutions. So we don't have opt-out metrics in the universities currently. However, we have opt-out metric in the autonomous colleges as well as affiliated UG and PG colleges, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor. The last question, how you are going to deal the period of academic year 2019-20, sir? 19-20, up to what period you are considering, sir, because of the COVID-19?
Sir, 1920, as I mentioned in my first interactions, 1920 we are considering up to 31st December 2020. That means they can submit the data from 1st June 2019 till 31st December 2020. It's a period of almost 1 year and 6 months. 6 months they can submit the data, whatever the work they have. They have done it. They can submit. Sir, ours is, if some institution will submit, suppose some institution will submit based on the IIQA, which year data should be submitted. Let me give an example, sir. Suppose one institution is submitting IIQA after 31st of May. That means from 1st June 2020, somebody has submitted IIQA, then the current year will be 1920. If they have submitted before 1st June, then the current year will be 1819. So after 1st June submission of IIQA, 1920 is the current year. So 1920 we have made 1st June till 31st December 2020, so that there will be advantages for the institutions to submit a lot of documents. Because in the COVID also, if they have conducted some webinars, face-to-face faculty development program, online development programs, all those things we'll consider. As far as our INFLIMNET citations are concerned, it is a calendar year. That means if an institute is submitted self-study report before 31st December 2020, their INFLIMNET data will be 19, 18, 17, 16, and 15. It's a calendar year. As far as INFLIMNET citations.
Thank you very much, sir. You have given us a very detailed.
With the permission of
Can I-
chairperson.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, yes, Vice Chancellor, Madam, please.
Yeah, just give me one. Just wanted a clarification on the last point that Dr. Rath mentioned, that if the IIQA is submitted in, let's say, October 2020, then the implement data will be counted only for 17, 18, 19 calendar year.
No, sir. No, madam. I didn't say that. One is submission of IIQ and is submission of SSR.
Okay.
If in the October 2020 and the institution is submitted the self-study report, then the calendar year, the implement data will be 19, 18, 17, 16 and 15. Implement is for the current year. It is depends on the date when they have submitted the self-study report.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
The AICT given a concession to the students. The students can very well go for home internship, sir, during COVID period. Home internship. Instead of going to the industry, AICT allows the student to do the internship residing in their home through online, through some contact. Whether or the NAC is going to take this home internship as statistics or details.
We will consider, sir. We will consider. We will consider, sir.
Okay.
We will consider.
Any other questions, sir? It is already, we are late. We have asked our advisor in a bigger way as well. We have spent much time. Thank you very much, sir, for answering all our questions, clarified doubts of all the Vice Chancellors. So, as a chairperson, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Amiya Kumar and Dr. Rajendra Hegde for having spent much time with us, briefed about the various policies, strategies, and regulations of both the apex bodies and answered questions up to the satisfaction of all the Vice Chancellors. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I request all the panelists to enable their video for a group photograph?
All the Vice Chancellors, please, you can switch on your video for a group photograph. This is the new normal.
Here, all the Vice Chancellors are requested to switch on their video so that we can take a good photograph. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let me take the let me take the privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Jaipur National University, the host of Association of Indian Universities, West Zone Vice Chancellors Meet 2020 and 2021. It has been great pleasure to host West Zone Vice Chancellors Meet 2020 and 2021. At the outset, we would like to convey our sincere gratitude to the chairperson of this session, Colonel Dr. G. Thiru Vasagamji, for gracing this session. We sincerely thank our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Sandeep Bakshi, sir, for his consistent support and encouragement, under whose vision and guidance we are able to host this meeting. I would like to convey honest thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Dr. Professor H.N. Verma ji, for extensive support and guidance. Let me take the opportunity to express our gratitude to the President of AIU, Dr. Tej Pratap, sir, Secretary General, ma'am, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, ma'am, to give us opportunity to host this wonderful meet of respected Vice Chancellors. On behalf of entire JNU fraternity, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the speakers for sharing your valuable thoughts, findings, and opinions with us today, especially Rajendra sir and Amiya sir. Now I would like to request all the eminent guests and the speakers and attendees to proceed for lunch at their respective places due to COVID scenario. Next year, we may hope to have a face-to-face interaction and further discussions and interactions during lunch sessions. I also request all of you to kindly join back for another session at 2 p.m. today. Thank you.
2 p.m. will be, I think, 2:10 because you have to give them at least 20 minutes for lunch. So around 2:10 or so.
Okay, ma'am. I request all of you to please be here again at 2:10 p.m. today. Thank you.